This happened at the Arkansas game on Saturday. A guy went into the porta potty, and his buddy thought it would be funny to tump it over, so he did. Only problem is the door was underneath, and he couldn't get out. They finally got him out. No word on what happened after that. Hundreds were stopped watching it from the concourse. I wonder if the victim is telling this story this morning.
I would throw whoever did that over the upper deck of a stadium. To me,
regardless of the direction.
I'm going to jail. I'm going to
potty...
jail for the rest of my life because I'm out at that point.
It's a perfect metaphor for what happened on the field too.
You just segue right into it, Richard. There you go.
So that's the edge for you.
If that happened to me, I don't know that I could keep my sanity.
What if it was your best friend on planet Earth who did that to you as like the greatest of all pranks?
Well, he did once kick a toilet stall door into my head, so what's the difference? I guess.
No, this is different.
I guess, yeah.
This is not kicking a toilet stall door.
I might have to murder him.
Okay.
Every man's got a breaking point.
And apparently being tipped over in a
being
porta potty
trapped
at a football game.
And trapped in there with all the refuse. Yes. I'm out.
What an underused word. But does it make a difference if it's just tipped over and you can get out versus tipping it over onto the side? If I can get out, I might get over
it. But if I got to be stuck in there for a while with other people's, waste, I'm not. I can't live like that.
Somebody said, "Brother, that's not a prank. Absolutely going to jail."
Yeah, I'm going to jail. I may not kill him, but I'm going to jail.
Let's talk some ball.
Yeah.
Let's go to Fayetteville, where apparently there was a porta potty that was tipped over, door side down over the weekend, and it Tony says trapped in crap.
And Sam Pittman was stuck inside. Yes.
Listen to you. Another one. Ole Miss fans finally got to see the team they paid for, and it looked good.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, is better late than never? That's a real thing, I suppose.
You know what,
they are
Borky,
peaking
if
right
you
now.
want to look at the world as a glass that is half empty, you just go ahead and be my guest. Better late than never. Okay.
Hey.
You could also say, saving their best for last, peaking at exactly the right time. You don't want to play too well too early. You can spin this thing if you want to.
And their quarterback's peaking at the right time, too. I mean, he had 3 consecutive games of poor play, and over the last 6 quarters, so against Oklahoma's defense, which is among the tops in the country in sacks, TFLs, pressures, all that, the second half of that game and the 4 quarters against Arkansas, he is 39 of 48 for 735 yards and 7 touchdowns in 6 quarters of play.
Say those out loud again.
39 of 48 for 735 yards and 7 touchdowns in the last 6 quarters of play. And that's not Furman in Middle Tennessee. That's Oklahoma and Arkansas and Fayetteville.
That's 81%.
735 and 7 touchdowns.
Pretty good.
It feels like a scoring recap is not the best use of our time. There was a lot of scoring. Although, I wonder how many cats were punted after the opening offensive drive of the game for Ole Miss. Where they stall out at the 1-yard line with some suspect play calling.
Never do short yardage without J.J. Pegues ever. Never do it again. J.J. Pegues comes on the field.
And hand him the ball when he's on there. Yeah.
Only one time, though, have they done that where they didn't give it to him.
And they got snuffed out.
Huh?
They got snuffed out, right?
Okay, well, maybe there are 2 times, because the other time they did a play action to him and then had the 19-yard completion against LSU.
I think it was against Oklahoma. They ran like a little end around or something out of it, and they were all over it.
Yeah, that was, jeez, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You got a weapon. I mean, you got a defensive tackle with 6 rushing touchdowns now this year. Man, it's so easy to get caught up in the offense. And it's so easy to look and go, I gave up 31 points and get lost in the fact or get distracted from how well Ole Miss's defense played on Saturday. And it started with with that first play after Ole Miss couldn't score, the second play after Ole Miss couldn't score from the 1 yard line, couldn't score on 4th and goal, where they get the sack, strip, fumble recovery in the end zone. It was a line of scrimmage game, and Ole Miss dominated at the line of scrimmage. And we're talking J.J. Pegues, and we're talking Jared Ivey, and we're talking Princely Umanmielen, and we're talking Walter Nolan.
You're thinking RPI.
Wrong sport, wrong time of year. I knew Nolan, and I knew, yeah.
And he actually drew a holding penalty. Walter Nolan drew a holding penalty in this game. What a turn of events that is.
But wasn't it also, you had 51 in the mix a little bit. Xavier Harris had a big game.
Even when they went to the guys that are not playing as much in conference games, they still generated pressure and all that. And Kiffin, we'll hear it tomorrow, but Kiffin said after the game that, a lot of the defense played better than the score indicates because there was some playing to the score, is how he described it, in the second half, where it's like, hey, look, just don't get beat over the top on one play. You're winning 42-10. Just, some prevent stuff is what caused it. But 8 sacks, 13 tackles for loss. That's 18 sacks in the last 2 games. And here's the stat. So I told you during the break I had a stat for you, Richard. So Ole Miss leads the country in sacks with 41. Right. Boise State, I believe, is second at 39. Ole Miss leads the country in tackles for loss at 94. Second place is Duke. How many do you think they have?
63.
77. Ole Miss has 17 more tackles for loss than number 2 in all of college football.
So you're telling me number 1 and number last in the country are both Mississippi schools when it comes to sacks?
I guess that's what he's telling you.
That's not what I was not.
So Ole Miss through 9 games has 41 sacks. They are averaging 4.56 sacks per game. Mississippi State is not number last.
So they got up over the weekend?
Yes.
Good for them.
They have 7 sacks this season for minus 24 yards, averaging .78 sacks per game. Both Air Force and Oregon State are worse at getting to the quarterback than Mississippi State.
Well, I'll be darned. Good for them.
But that's what should have this team undefeated. I know they're not, but that's what travels. We talked about it going into the game. That Ole Miss's front 6 against running quarterbacks, and you saw both of them because Green got rolled up on. That front 6 travels. And that front 6 can keep you, and it has kept them in every single game because they're able to generate pressure. You cannot run the football on them, at least not consistently. Anyway, they're talented, they're deep, and the most underrated aspect of it is linebacker play. Linebacker play for Ole Miss is outstanding. Daugherty and Paul in particular. I know Coleman plays as well.
Paul. He played
missing
a great
that
game.
Interception.
For him to have that opportunity in that building. And by the way, you didn't really see the animus from Arkansas fans to Chris Paul that other fan bases have for other transfers out.
Well, they seem to have gotten it, like why he left.
Well, yeah. And apparently he was a really, really likable player when he was there. Teammates liked him, fans liked him, whole deal.
But linebacker play for them is outstanding. I mean, their front 6 is not just the line, and that will keep them, or that has kept them in every game. And I know we're talking about Arkansas still, but that is what's going to give them a great chance on Saturday because Georgia's offensive line, they struggle to run the football, and Beck under duress is a turnover machine. And so you've got to love that matchup because they have proven it now throughout the course of the season. There was no fool's gold through 4 weeks with that defensive front. They are extremely real, and they're deep, and they can beat you in different ways, and it's so good. And it's a joy to watch, honestly, because of how dominant they can be.
Carson Beck's thrown 11 interceptions this year. He's had 3 games with 3 or more, or with 3 interceptions. So
only player in the country to do that.
Yeah. Offense. Offense from that game on Saturday, Ole Miss scoring 63 points against the Razorbacks. Dart set a single-game passing record with 515 yards. That surpassed Matt Corral's 513 yards. He added a team-high 47 yards rushing, 562 yards total offense, breaking Archie Manning's record that has stood since 1969 when he had 540 in that famous game against Alabama. Dart became the winningest starting quarterback in the modern era for Ole Miss with his 25th victory as a starter. He is the school's all-time leader in 300-yard passing games, now with 13, was tied with Jordan Ta'amu and Chad Kelly. It was his third career 400-yard game, second most all-time between Jordan Ta'amu, who had 4. The 13th player in SEC history with 500 yards passing, and the second SEC quarterback ever with 500 yards and 6 touchdowns in a game. The only other one to do that, Drew Lock at Missouri. And that's just for Dart. Watkins set a single game receiving yards and touchdowns receiving record as well.
It's hard to fathom that Arkansas let, albeit a good receiver, but let any receiver do that wasn't Trey Harris. Like, if Trey Harris had that day, if he was healthy enough to go, and we wouldn't have been overly surprised. Watkins is a veteran. He's really good, but I didn't think that he could take over a game like that the way he did. I mean, just route running, getting open, obviously catching the football and yards after the catch. He was just outstanding. And
it's like he put the DBs in spin cycle, too. I mean, the double moves to get open, like wide open.
And a couple of deep balls thrown by Dart, who had struggled. He was 12 of 15 passes over 20 yards at one point during this season in a stretch. And he was perfect. I mean, 2 just absolutely beautifully placed footballs where if it's not right on the money, then it's incomplete or worse. So I don't know how the flip switched offensively. I think in part, the offense is not better without Trey Harris. That's a dumb thing to think. But Trey Harris not being there kind of forced them to spread the ball around a little bit more. And now you're seeing that, hey, they've got weapons. They've got a lot of weapons. Jordan Watkins is a weapon. Caden Lee's a weapon. Daquan Wright is a weapon. Well, Juice Wells caught the football again when it was thrown his way.
And Borky, when you say weapon, Watkins goes crazy with the 254 yards and the 5 touchdowns. Caden Lee had 127 yards on 5 catches. Daquan Wright had 99 yards on 9 catches. Juice Wells, to your point, 3 catches for 59 yards. They got it to Henry Parish. You feel bad for him. Season-ending knee injury. It looked bad, too.
Yeah. You know,
I don't know if I've ever seen a player lying on the field where the leg opposite their injured leg looked like it's having the what's the syndrome where you restless leg syndrome?
Yeah.
I mean, just like his leg was bouncing. I couldn't tell if that was
like at first I thought it was a cramp. I was just like, he's having a muscle spasm there or something. But then you were like, no, that's not what it is at all.
And them making him walk off the field was wild to me. Like, number one, you don't have a cart. And number 2, you made him walk off the field and you had a wheelchair waiting at the entrance of the tunnel to have him sit down and wheel him up the tunnel. Why don't you bring the wheelchair on the field and put him in it and then wheel him off the field if you don't have a cart available, which is probably against some kind of a law?
Why did they not have a cart?
Mind-blowing.
Like they said there wasn't one in the stadium?
They just didn't bring it out to him. He had to stand up and walk off the field after a devastating leg injury. Wild stuff there, but yeah, and
but you see guys with ACL issues, and I'm not saying that it's an ACL. I don't know if they've announced specifically what it is, but you see guys with ACLs that go off the field where they're kind of helped off the field, and I think maybe because it wasn't broken, they were like, we can just get the weight off of it and get him off the field. I'm guessing.